Jana Ballava Divaragari Gopi Jana Ballava Divaragari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Bihari Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Raja Jana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Banachari Jamuna Tira Banachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Vinari Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So before going ahead, we'll just read the Prabhupada Leelamrita. I think we're going to start this chapter. Am I correct, Prabhu? Chapter 9?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Volume 1, Prabhupada Leelamrita, Chapter 9, a resident of Vrindavan. I was sitting alone in Vrindavan writing. My godbrother insisted to me, Bhaktivedanta Prabhu, you must do it. Without accepting the renounced order of life, nobody can become a preacher. So he insisted. Not that he insisted. Practically, my spiritual master insisted. He wanted me to become a preacher. So he forced me through this godbrother. You accept. So unwillingly, I accepted. Srila Prabhupada. The passenger cars behind the locomotive moved forward almost silently. Thumping at a slow rhythm over the tracks, the train pulled out of the station, past freight yards, a neighborhood of rundown tenements, the old Delhi fort, the garbage dump at Nizamuddin, with its hundreds of crows and vultures flying overhead, and then past a marble-domed red sandstone mosque. Seated in the third-class compartment, his luggage stored beneath the seat, Abhay could see factory workers walking near the tracks, carrying their lunches in metal tiffins, and then the factories surrounded by huts of mud and straw. He passed the thatched roofs and tarpaulin tents and cowdung fires that smoked in the morning air. The tall stacks of the Indraprastha electrical powerhouse spewed out a different smoke, and sooty black clouds poured out back from the locomotive. He saw red and violet wildflowers blooming from the bramble bushes at the trackside, and beyond that he saw the road to Mathura with its border of fruitless kikar trees. It was the morning train to Agra, and there were a few passengers. Abhay would be riding as far as Mathura and then traveling by Tanga to Vrindavan. He had ridden widely the Indian railways, especially in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and when he had traveled on business in Bengal, Punjab, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, and Andhra Pradesh. He had been to Vrindavan several times. In his childhood reveries over the train timetables, it had been the first place he had thought of visiting. His first visit in 1925 had been but a brief pilgrimage, Well, he had been nearby Agra on business. Then in 1932, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had been in Vrindavan on Parikrama. That had been a memorable visit. Abhay had heard him speak at Koshi, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had marked him. He likes to hear. And then at Radhakund, 3 years later, he had been with his spiritual master again. But he had never gone like this, to live there, dressed in a simple white dhoti, his hand in his bead bag, fingering his jippa beads, and looked out of the window, quietly chanting the holy name. To the end here, Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. So beautifully, Satsurup Das Goswami Maharaj has described. No? We can picture the image in our eyes of the road of the Prince to Vrindavan. So before going ahead, so even though I'm totally unqualified, I know just by chanting the names of Vishnu, so we get purified. So I'll just chant the invocation prayers. Om apavitro pavitro va sarvavastham gatopi va yasmaret pundari kaksham sa bhaya abhyantaram shuchihi Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu Shri Vishnu. Om ajnanatinirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitam yena tasmai Shri Gurave namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratishe Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabho Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yat Kripatam Aham Vande Paramananda Madhavam Shri Gurum Dinataranam Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayet Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatyuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandanaya Cha Nanda Gopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha Nama Pankajanabhaya Nama Pankajamaline Nama Pankajanetraya Namaste Pankajangreye Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, just to remind myself, whatever little bit we are able to utter, it's only thanks to His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, without whose immense contributions we wouldn't have access to any of these great scriptures. So the history, though far, before going ahead, the devotees have covered it so nicely in the previous sessions. So how the citizens praised and prayed to King Prithu after his return to the capital. And then we saw how the arrival of the 4 Kumaras and and Prithu Maharaj, how nicely we welcomed the great sages. And even though they looked like little children, they were the greatest sages. And he talks about the great fortune of a Vaishnava's visit to our home and the exalted position of the Kumaras. And then Prithu Maharaj's inquiry as to achieving the ultimate goal of life. And then now we will see the today's verse 4:22-18. Can one of the devotees kindly chant this verse?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Shanat Kumar Uvacha Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja Sarvabhuta Hitatmana Bhavata Vidusha Chapi Sadhu Namotiridrishi.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Yeah, please go.
Go ahead, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Dandavat Pranam Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Dandavat Pranam.
सनत्कुमार उवाच साधु पृष्ठं महाराज सर्वभूताहितात्मना भवता विदुषा चापि साधूनामातिरीदृशी। हरे
Thank
कृष्ण।
you. Thank you.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु दंडवत प्रणाम।
Dandavad Pranam, Mataji.
सनत्कुमार उवाच साधु पृष्ठं महाराज सर्वभूताहितात्मना भावत विदुषा चापि साधूनां मतिरीदृशी। हरे कृष्ण।
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, I am also
Yeah,
present.
please, please.
Sanat Kumara Ubacho Sadhu Prishtam Maharaja Sarva Bhuto Hitatmana Bhavata Vidusha Chapi Sadhunam Mutir Idrishi.
Thank
Hare
you.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Dandavad Pranam.
Yeah. You want to read the word to word, Prabhu?
Yeah, okay. Maitra Uvacha, the great sage Maitra continued to speak. Sorry.
Which one, Prabhu? Which one?
Um,
The synonym, sorry.
yeah, synonym. Sanat Kumar Uvacha, Sanat Kumar said, Sadhu, saintly, Prishtam, question, Maharaja, my dear king, Sarva Bhuta, all living entities, Hitatmana, by one who desires good for all, Bhavata, by you, Vidusha, well learned, Cha, and Api, although Sadhunam, of the saintly person, Mati, intelligence, Idrishi, like this.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you very much. Translation? New devotees. Yeah.
Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Sanat Kumar said, "My dear King Prithu, I am very nicely questioned by you. Such questions are beneficial for all living entities, especially because they are raised by you who are always thinking of the good of others. Although you know everything, you ask such questions because that is the behavior of saintly persons. Such intelligence is befitting your position."
Thank you very much. Can anyone, one of the devotees read the purport as well?
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavad Pranam.
purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Maharaj Prithu was well conversant in transcendental science, yet he presented himself before the Kumaras as one ignorant of it. The idea is that even if a person is very exalted and knows everything, before his superior he should present questions. For instance, although Arjuna knew all the transcendental science, he questioned Krishna as if he did not know. Similarly, Prithu Maharaj knew everything, but he presented himself before the Kumaras as if he did not know anything. The idea is that questions by exalted persons put before the Supreme Personality of Godhead or his devotees are meant for the benefit of general people. Therefore, sometimes great personalities put themselves in that position and inquire from a higher authority because they are always thinking of the benefit of others. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you
Please
very much.
accept my obeisances. Hare
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu. Such a wonderful verse and very powerful, short but powerful purport by Srila Prabhupada. Sanat Kumara said, "My dear King Prithu, I am very nicely questioned by you. Such questions are beneficial for all living entities, especially because they are raised by you who are always thinking of the good of others. Although you know everything, you ask such questions because that is the behavior of saintly persons. Such intelligence is befitting your position. Guru Gauram Giri Sheshtam Yo Vishnam Bhena Sevate Madhavam Tulasi Rama Krishna Kirtim Kiram Suve Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutle Srimate Bhakti Vishnama Madhava Swami Namine." Thank you very much again, dear devotees, for kindly giving this opportunity to try and purify myself by speaking a little bit about Srimad Bhagavatam. And so very nicely this verse discusses the importance of questions, and even in the other parts or other places in the scriptures, we see knowledge is obtained only by the right questions. So, for example, even the Bhagavad Gita, we see in the 4.34, it says, Tad Vriddhi Pranipatena Pariprashnena Sevaya Upadekshayanti Te Jnanam Jnaninas Tattva Darshinaha. So, very nicely they say, but when you approach the spiritual master, we inquire from them submissively and render service. But only by the submissive questions, we can gain knowledge from the self-realized souls. So similarly, even in the Bhagavatam, we see the 1.13.2. No? So we say, Yavata Kritavan Prashnan Kshatta Kausha Rava Grataha Jataika Bhaktir Govinde Tebhyas Chopara Rama Ha. So very nicely, is after Vidura asked these questions, and he says, after asking various questions, and what is the goal of the questions? To become established in the transcendental loving service of Lord Krishna. After this, Vidura retired from putting questions to Maitreya Muni. So very, very purposeful questions. We see our entire Vedic scriptures, right from the Upanishads to the various Puranas, everything is the person, the curious person, the inquisitive person, very nicely, humbly he puts questions, and then he gains knowledge from the person who is speaking. So it's all in a scientific inquiry. No? We talk about scientific inquiry. All the Vedic scriptures are in the spirit of scientific inquiry, where there is questions and answers. And you should take the opportunity to ask the right person. That's important. The right questions to the right person. So, for example, in the Madhya Leela, in the 20th chapter, it is said, Purve Aiche Raya. Can somebody read this? I think one of the Bengali devotees can read this very nicely.
Hare Krishna Bhojan.
Yeah.
পূর্বে হইছে রায় পাশে প্রভু প্রশ্ন কইলা তার শক্তি রামানন্দ তার উত্তর দিলেন। ইহ প্রভুর শক্তি প্রশ্ন করে সনাতন আপনে মহাপ্রভু করে তত্ত্ব নিরূপণ।
Thank you so much. You can read the translation as well. Yeah. You want this? Yeah.
Krishna?
Yeah.
Yeah. Translation by Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Formerly, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had asked Ramananda Rai spiritual questions, and by Lord's causeless mercy, Ramananda Rai could properly reply. Now, by the Lord's mercy, Sanatana Goswami questioned the Lord, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally supplied the truth.
Thank you so much. So very nicely they have said. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in spite of that, he took a humble position before Ramananda Rai and asked him spiritual questions so that he could reveal the glorious position of the Supreme Lord. And similarly here, Sanatana Goswami is very nicely questioning the Lord, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu personally supplied the truth. Only because of Sri Sanatana Goswami's questions, Sri Rupa Goswami's questions, we have this Krishna conscious philosophy, we have only because of these great sages' questions. Because only without these questions, the Lord, how would have revealed without these nice questions from these great sages? So, even the 11th canto, we see it is very nicely mentioned. Always Srila Prabhupada likes to quote this verse. Tasmad Gurum Prapadyeta Jigyasur, inquisitiveness. Jigyasur Shreya Uttamam. Shabde Parecha Nishnatam Brahman Upa Shamashrayam. Brahmani Upa Shamashrayam. Therefore, any person who seriously desires real happiness must seek a bona fide spiritual master and take shelter of him by initiation. And the initiation is not just a ritual, the initiation is actually asking the questions. The qualification of the bona fide guru is that he has already realized the conclusions of the scriptures by deliberation and is able to convince others of these conclusions. Such great personalities who have taken shelter of the Supreme Godhead, leaving aside all material considerations, should be understood to be bona fide spiritual masters. So we have to approach the bona fide persons and then ask the inquisitive questions which will truly benefit us, which will establish us in Krishna consciousness. So even in this 11th canto, 10th chapter, So we say here very nicely how Lord Krishna, he praises when Uddhava asks questions. No? He says, Katham varteta viharet, kairna jnayeta lakshanai, kim bhunji tota visrujet, chai tashita yativa. Then how does it say? Etad achyuta me bruhi, prashnam prashna vidham vara. No? Nitya baddho nitya mukta, eka eveti me brahmaha. Very nicely, this meaning of this prashna vidhambara. Prashna vidhambara is of all those who know how to answer questions. And so we had to ask the person who knows to ask the questions. So here he is asking this question. Uddhava is asking. Then he's telling, please answer because you are the best of those who are expert in answering philosophical questions. So similarly, we remember even in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, when Arjuna asks him to clarify his doubt to Krishna, he says, "You are the only one who can clarify doubts." So the Lord or his pure devotees, only they are the only persons who are qualified to answer the right questions. So take the opportunity to ask the right person. And sometimes what happens is the answer may be right in our midst. No, we may be looking all over the world, and the answer may be right in our midst. There's a very slightly humorous episode is there in the 10th canto. No, 10th canto, 84th chapter. It is described how in the Kurukshetra. In Kurukshetra, all the great sages have come, and then Vasudeva is there with his family, with his son, everything. And Vasudeva is asking Narada Muni and Vyasadeva. Sri Vasudeva Uvacha, Namo vai sarva devebhya, Rishaya shrotum arthata, karmana karma nirharo, yatasya nas tad uchyatam. No? He's asking the questions to Vasudeva, to the sages. Obeisances to you, O residents of the demigods. Please hear me, O sages. Kindly tell us how the reactions of one's work can be counteracted by further work. And Narada now he just tells Vyasa, see how slightly funny this is or surprising this is. He has got Krishna in his house. No, he has got the Supreme Lord in his house, and he is asking us to reveal the things. But of course, Vasudeva was taking a humble position and asking it, and Narada was just telling that so that even though the sages are trying to answer the question, they are conscious of Krishna's supreme position. So sometimes it might happen like that. No, the answer we might say, oh, we are looking for answer, but even a person who is nearby us, he may be able to clarify that question. And similarly, we see the sages' questions in Naimisharanya. Naimisharanya very nicely. So we see the nice interaction. They ask the nice question, and even the speaker, he praises the question. He says, Tatra Tatranjasa Ayushman Bhavata Yad Vinishchitam Pumsam Ekanta Shreyas Tanna Samshitum Arhasi. So very nicely, what the question is asking? The sages are asking Suta Goswami, explain to us in an easily understandable way what is for the absolute and ultimate good for the people in general. So that is the question they are asking. So what is beneficial for the people? And so here the Suta Goswami congratulates them. He says, Munayo sadhu prishtoham bhavadbir loka mangalam yakrita Krishna samprashno yenatma suprasidati. So he says what the question when we ask, what that question should cover. O sages, I have been justly questioned by you. Why? Because your questions are worthy, because they relate to Lord Krishna. And only of such questions are relevant to the world's welfare. Only questions of this sort are capable of satisfying the self. Even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada very nicely he says, so many questions we all have. This question, constantly we are curious about so many things. But he is saying the real curiosity is about Lord Krishna. When we are curious about Lord Krishna, only that is of relevance to our benefit. So that's why even sometimes the sannyasis, they get a bit annoyed when people ask unrelated question. They say, no, how related this question is to what the topic is, and whether it's to our real welfare. And similarly, Maharaja Parikshit's question to Sukadeva Goswami. So here we see again the great personalities, they know what to ask. Atha prichami samsiddhim yoginam paramam gurum purushastyeha yat karyam briyamanasya sarvata. Yesterday also I remember Mataji was so nicely when she asked how to speak so nicely, she put all the points in a very logical manner, and she said, she gave this example of Parikshit Maharaj. What is the question he is asking? I am therefore begging you to show the way of perfection for all persons, and especially for one who is about to die. And this question applies to everyone, because everyone of us is about to die. And so he is asking as if it's relevant to him, but actually it's relevant to everyone. And Sukadeva Goswami so nicely he congratulates him on such a relevant question. He says, Shri Shuka Uvacha, Variyan Yesha Te Prashna, Krito Loka Hitam Nrupa, Atmavit Sammata Pumsam, Shota Vyadishu Ya Paraha. So what does he say? Loka Hitam, beneficial for all men. He says, your question is glorious, that what should a person who is about to die do? Your question is glorious because it's beneficial to all kinds of people. The answer to this question is a prime subject matter for hearing and is approved by all transcendentalists. So he says this, Prabhupada also says, this single question is the seed of the entire Bhagavatam. So what should a dying person do? And this entire Bhagavatam explains that. It's approved by all the transcendentalists. And of course, there are people who are not interested in such questions. They are interested in so many other questions of the world. So it is such people are also described in the Bhagavatam. What is that person? Deha Patya Kalatradishva Atma Sainyesva Asatvapi Tesham Pramatto Nidhanam Pashyan Apina Pashyati. So, what kind of person? Because I am not interested, because I am devoid of Atma Tattva. So, because of that, I am not inquiring into the real problems of life, birth, death, old age, and disease. I am inquiring into so many other problems. Why? Because I am too much attached to fallible soldiers like body, children, and wife. So I am seeing every day around me, people are dying, but then I think, oh, I won't die. So this question is not relevant for me. So I think I am not interested in such questions. So even the Brihad Aranyaka Upanishad, such a person is described. He is telling, Yova etad aksharam ghage avidvatsama lokar praiti sa kripanaha. Because in this human form of life, without asking such questions, I have failed to solve the 4 problems of life. And I am dying like cats and dogs without understanding the real signs of self-realization. So that is the fate of a person who is not interested in such questions. So similarly, Vidura's question to Maitreya Muni also we see in the 3rd canto. So Vidura Uvacha, so he is asking, the real question is asking, Sukhaya Karmani Karoto Loko, Nathai Sukham Vanyat Uparamam Va, Vindeta Bhuyas Tata Eva Dukkam, Yadatra Yuktam Bhagavan Vadenna. So what is the question he is asking? So he is asking, we perform so many, no? Oh great sage, everyone in this world engages in fruitive activities to attain happiness, but one finds neither satiation nor the mitigation of distress. On the contrary, such activities, what happens? One only aggravates the problem by doing such activities. So please give us directions how to live for real happiness. So nicely we see, no, what a dying man should do, what a person for real happiness, what he should do. And earlier we saw the sages are asking, what is of real benefit to humanity? Please summarize that. And similarly, with Maitreya Muni, he congratulates him. Maitreya Uvacha, Sadhu Prishtam Tvaya Sadho, Lokan Sadhu Anugranata, Kirtim Vitanvata Loke, Atmano Adokshajat Manaha. So what does he say? Shri Maitreya Uvacha, all glory to you, O Vidura. You have inquired from me of the greatest of goodness, and thus you have shown your mercy both to the world and me by asking such a wonderful question. Because your mind is always absorbed in the thoughts of transcendence. And similarly, even Devahuti's question also we see to Kapila Muni in the 5th canto. She says like how I can get out of this thing of sense gratification. Even though that she is highly exalted, but still she's asking for our benefit. And similarly, Uddhava's question to Lord Krishna in the 11th canto, he's asking him to display all his opulences. And we'll see how nicely Krishna, he says, he remembers when he is asking him to describe all his opulences, then how we'll see how Krishna responds. Krishna is immediately reminded of which person? Arjuna. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Evam etad aham prishta prashnam prashna vidamvara yuyutsuna vinashane sapatne arjunena vai. No? So how he praises Uddhavasi? Prashna vidamvara. No? So you are the person who knows how to inquire, he says. He congratulates him for such an inquiry. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "O best of those who know how to inquire." On the battlefield of Kurukshetra, Arjuna, desiring to fight with his rivals, asked me the same question that you are now posing when Uddhava asked him to describe all his opulences. And the right questions trigger the right discussion. No, if you don't ask the right questions, how they can trigger the right questions? No? And for example, we see in the 7th canto, it is the Parikshit Maharaj asked, how the Supreme Lord, can you please clarify whether he is partial or not partial? Because he says he is favoring the demigods over the demons. And then Sukadeva Goswami again congratulates him. He says, yes, very good question you have asked. And that kindled a great discussion, the entire 7th canto, which is a gem. It is said even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also liked the 7th canto so much. And similarly, we see even in the 10th canto, the personified Vedas, they are asking this question. So we'll see this the 10th canto, this one. We'll see the translation. And he says, so this question was asked. What is that question? The Vedas, it's because he says, no, Trigunyo Vishaya Veda. No, Trigunyo Vishaya Veda, he says in the Bhagavad Gita. So the sages are asking, Narada Muni is asking actually, he's saying these Vedas actually is describing the material things, no? Trigunyo, no? Goodness, passion, ignorance. And how the same Vedas can describe the transcendental person, because the Vedas is limited to describing material things. And so nicely, he is going and asking Narayana Rishi. And Narayana Rishi is telling, yes, same question was asked when the Supreme Lord is in Shvetadiva by the personified Vedas. And the sages in Janaloka, they were discussing the same topic, he's saying. And that kindled a very great discussion about how Sanandana Kumar, he is explaining this topic. Because it's a very nice question, no? The Vedas is limited to the 3 modes of nature. Trigunyo Vishaya Veda. How can they describe something which is above the 3 modes? And that also is described. Right questions, discuss the right discussion. Even gently challenging the speaker. No? We remember where the speaker is challenged? Yes, yes.
It says, you're telling me about
Correct.
Prayashchit, but
Correct.
Prayashchit is not going to help in
Correct.
preventing me from committing sins.
Correct, correct. Because initially he is asking Shukadeva Goswami, how the human beings can be saved from entering hellish planets. And Shukadeva Goswami says, I have already explained to you why you are asking again. By doing this Prayashchit, by doing the atonement, you can go. I have told you previously. Then he said, no, I am not satisfied. So you are saying the Prayashchit, very nicely we can see in the 10th, this thing he says. After Shukadeva Goswami says that I have said it, I have previously described this to you. By doing the atonement you can do. Why are you asking again, he says. And Parikshit Maharaj very nicely is saying, therefore, before, this all, he is saying this. That is, Shukadeva Goswami is saying, no? Just before the thing, we have to treat the disease by doing the atonement. And what is, he is not satisfied. Raja Uvacha, Drishta Shruthabhyam Yat Papam, Janan Atmano Hitam, Karoti Bhuyo Vivashaha, Prayashchitam Atho Katam. He is saying one may know that the sinful activity is injurious for him because he sees that the criminal is punished by the government and rebuked by the people. Just like what you have explained, he's saying. Because he has been gone to atonement, so-called atonement in prison. Nevertheless, in spite of such knowledge, one is forced to commit sins again and again, even after performing acts of atonement. So he's saying, Prayashchita Atho Katam. He's telling, what is the value of such atonement? What you have so nicely explained, he's saying. No? He's gently challenging the speaker. And even in the Bhagavad Gita, we see, in the 4th chapter. He is saying, oh, you have explained that you are you have originally spoken the Bhagavad Gita to the sun god, but how I can accept you and me are the same age, Krishna says to Arjuna. No, he mildly, gently challenging. It's not rudely challenging the speaker, gently challenging, so that more and more knowledge can be revealed. And here we see a slightly different tack. No? Even in the purport, Srila Prabhupada, he mentions about Arjuna's question to Krishna. So, what the very, very famous question, 2.7. What does Arjuna say? Very, like everybody is familiar with this verse. Karpanya dosho pahata swabhava prichami tvam dharma sammuda cheta yat shreyasya nishchitam bruhi tanme shishyaste hamsadi mam tvam prapannam. After asking all his questions in the first and in the beginning of 2nd chapter, what he's saying, now I'm totally confused about my duty and I've lost all composure because of miserly weakness. In this question, in this condition, I'm asking you to tell me certain what is best for me. Now I am your disciple and a soul surrendered unto you. Please instruct me. So what was Krishna's response? No, in the previous all the things we saw, they are saying, oh, such a beautiful question you have asked for the benefit of everyone. Such a wonderful question, which is of real significance, solving the real problems of life. So here, what the Lord is saying is in response to Arjuna's question. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Ashochan Anvashochastvam Pragya Vadamscha Bhasase Gatasum Agatasumscha Nanu Shochanti Panditaha. So the Supreme Lord is not congratulating him. He is saying, while speaking learned words, you are mourning for what is not worthy of grief. Those who are wise lament neither for the living nor for the dead. No? So he is saying, he is not congratulating. What a wonderful question you asked. Why? We can see that. We can see why he is not congratulating him on a question. So similarly, we see the discussion between Rahuguna and Jadabharata also. After Rahuguna asks Jadabharata to explain what is of benefit to him, then we'll see Jadabharata's response. He says, Brahmana Uvacha Akovida Vada Vadan Vadas Yato Nati Vidam Varishtha Na Surayoya Vyavahara Menam Tatvamas Marshena Sahamananti. He said, Akovida Vada Vadan, he's saying. Similar to what Arjuna was saying, no? He's saying, the Brahmana Jadabharata said, my dear king, although you are not at all experienced, you are trying to speak like a very experienced man. Consequently, you cannot be considered an experienced person. An experienced person does not speak the way you are speaking about the relationship between a master and servant or about material pains and pleasures. These are simply external activities. Any advanced, experienced man, considering the absolute truth, does not talk in this way. So he is not congratulating him on his questions. No. So many times it happens like that. No. When a superior person comes, what I do, I tell everything, my opinion, my view, my philosophy, everything I then state. And then as if just to confirm that, I ask the superior person, what I said, does it make sense? Does it, do you agree with it? And then that person will say, what all you have spoken till now, everything is nonsense. And because without experience, you have spoken, and now you hear the real thing. So sometimes it happens like that. So it's not as if Arjuna was like that. He was speaking like that just to so that the Bhagavad Gita could be revealed. And be a fool to get the topmost instruction. No, if you go to the doctor and act as if we know everything about medicine, doctor will say, okay, you formulate your own medicine, formulate your own treatment, you take. Why are you coming to me? No? So even in the Adi Lila, we see this. How the Supreme Lord himself, he sets this example. What is the example he sets? Yeah, Prabhu, can somebody read this in Bengali?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
মূর্খ তুমি তোমার নাহি কো বেদান্তাধিকার কৃষ্ণ মন্ত্র জপ সদা এই মন্ত্র সার.
Yes. Thank you. Read the translation as well.
You are a fool, he said. You are not qualified to study Vedanta philosophy, and therefore you must always chant the holy name of Krishna. This is the essence of all mantras or Vedic hymns.
So who is speaking this to whom?
Yeah, it is. Prabhuji, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is telling
Yes.
that his guru has advised him to do
Correct. His guru has advised him, no? So when you go to the guru like a fool, what he's saying, you get the highest, no? He's saying Vedanta philosophy, it may appear very high, no? And we are not criticizing Vedanta philosophy, but what his guru has told him, actually he has told him to go even higher than that. And he's saying by chanting the holy name of Krishna, automatically Vedanta philosophy, everything is covered, his guru is saying. So in the next verse also we'll see this. Can you read this verse also?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, I am trying.
Yeah.
কৃষ্ণ মন্ত্র হইতে হবে সংসার মোচন, কৃষ্ণ নাম হইতে পাবে কৃষ্ণের চরণ.
Thank you for the translation as well. Yeah.
Simply by chanting the holy name of Krishna, one can obtain freedom from material existence. Indeed, simply by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra, one will be able to see the lotus feet of the Lord.
Thank you. So he said, even though he was a supreme Lord, before his spiritual master, he took the position of a fool. Means not an ignorant person, but as an inferior position. And then his master revealed to him the greatest benefit. What is the greatest benefit? He's saying all this Vedanta philosophy is there. Nice, it's nice. But when you chant the names of the Lord, you get the highest benefit. And then we see in all the scriptures how the right questions benefit all the parties. Vasudeva Katha Prashna Purusham Trin Punatihi Bhaktaram Prachakam Stotrams Tatpada Salilam Yata. So when the Prashna is relating to the Ganges emanating from the toe of Lord Vishnu purifies the three worlds, the upper, middle and lower planetary system. Similarly, when one asks questions about the pastimes and characteristics of Lord Vasudeva Krishna, three varieties of men are purified. Speaker or preacher, he who inquires, and all the people in general who listen. So nicely it is said, when the question should relate to the right topic, then the right person, then automatically everyone is benefited. So perfect questions, perfect answers. So 11 canto also we see this. Suviviktam tava prashnam mayaitat api dharaye sanatanam brahma guhyam param brahmadi gacchati. So anyone who fixes his attention on these clear answers to your questions will attain to the eternal confidential goal of the Vedas, the supreme absolute truth. So the Lord, after answering all the questions of Uddhava, is saying, you have answered so nice questions, and I have you have asked these questions, I have answered your questions, and who focuses on these answers will attain to the eternal confidential goal of the Vedas, the supreme absolute truth. So I just wanted to conclude with that. So just so we saw, just to summarize, so how the questions should relate to the right topic, and questions should be related to the right person, and we should always take the opportunity. The right person may be right in our midst, so we should take the opportunity to ask, take the humble position, and then we saw the various examples of the great questions asked, the great sages asking in the Naimisharanya, Parikshit Maharaj asking Sukadeva Goswami, and then we saw Vidura asking Maitreya Muni, Devahuti asking Kapila, and then Uddhava asking Lord Krishna. And then we saw how the right questions, we saw how the sages, when they asked how the Vedas describe the Supreme Person, it kindled a very lively discussion. The Lord himself is saying that. Even gently challenging the speaker. And then we saw how we should not just say everything what all we know and then ask the speaker just to confirm it. And then just by being a fool in front of a spiritual master, we get the ultimate instruction, which is to our ultimate benefit. And then we saw how the perfect questions to the perfect person gets back the perfect answers, which can benefit the entire world. So I just wanted to conclude there, Prabhu. But of course, the other devotees kindly feel free to correct me, add, or reveal any of your other realizations in this matter. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandot Pranam.
Dandot Pranam, Prabhu.
Such a beautiful plus.
Dandot Pranam, Prabhu.
The whole Bhagavatam is described. The whole Bhagavatam is about question and answer.
Correct.
See, just wake up in the morning and write at the end of the day. Prabhupada says questions and answers all the day. So You so nicely explained with so many examples. So what is the right question and what is the right answers?
Right.
And how the question to be asked in a very humble way. So question to be asked, but it should be in a humble way. We may be knowing the question answers, but question is asked on behalf of the public in general, so that they can take the benefit. And this is the whole bottom line of this subject and the text. Question should be such that it can benefit three people at
Correct.
one: the speaker, the listener, and the people in general. So that should be the mood, the way question to be asked. It is not a personal question, it is for all of us. And we
Correct.
see Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Chaitanya Charitamrita, everything is a question and answer.
Correct.
But the way it is asked, that is the main important. So here we can see how Prithu Maharaj is asking the question, though he is the knower of all the answers.
Correct. Correct.
Still is asking question to Kumara, so that one, he can glorify his teachers, as well as he can be glorified by the answers and for the people in general. So it is a three-way benefit. One question can benefit three people. So that is very, very important. And that is the learning for today. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavot Pranam.
Dandavot Pranam, Prabhu. Dandavot.
Thank you very much for the very nice class. As usual, you have so many information from different places of the Bhagavatam and from Bhagavad Gita. So the topic is so clearly explained. So we have very little to comment. I mean, you have made everything so clear. Only thing is the Prabhuji, just to say on that
Yes.
you have very nicely pointed out that all the questions should be related to Krishna, because that is ultimately worthwhile. Otherwise, because we are in the material world, often sometimes, as you have rightly pointed out, that the questions, often we think that whatever we think, it should be asked.
Correct.
But when it is related to Krishna, it is for the benefit of everybody. And because by knowing only from Krishna, we can get rid of our material entanglement. So all the questions, how we can get rid of our material entanglement, it should be related to Krishna. And in this way, we can get rid of our three modes of material nature.
Correct.
So very nice topics, very clearly and so explicitly explained. Thank you once again for your very nice class. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Thank you to all, and thank you to all the devotees. I think we can conclude. Yeah. Thank you everyone for joining again. So I think we can conclude here. No further points. Yeah. Vacha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Anantakoti Vaishnav Bindu ki
Jai. Srila
His Grace
Prabhupada ki
Poshak Madhava Prabhu ki Jai,
Vaishnav
Srila
Bindu ki
Prabhupada
Jai.
ki Jai.
Jai.
All glories to assembled devotees.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.